What is going on, guys? John from JondGames here. Today, in honor of today's milestone, I'm going to be telling you guys about the journey that was growing up, traveling around the country, and growing as an aspiring broadcast journalist. Let's get going. I was born far away from where I grew up. I was born in the Northeast around Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and by the age of 4, my immediate family moved to Missouri to be closer to my relatives, which lived in central Missouri. After moving a few times, we found ourselves situated here on a street with 2 courts and a lot of people. Once moved into the neighborhood, I met some of my friends on the block: Lizzie, Jenny, Jason, and Austin. Me and Austin didn't really hang out much until later in life, but the other 3 became my best friends. I don't remember a whole lot from my childhood, just some miscellaneous memories here and there. Winter snowball fights with the neighbors, riding down hill streets on makeshift carts from wagons and pool toys, the usual kid stuff. One year, I even built a huge snow pile in the center of the upper court, and my next door neighbor ran into it, intentionally I might add, with his car. Still remember the license plate print on it. Elementary school started, and I don't remember a whole lot. I just remember that I was a terrible kid, one that I would hate right now. I remember getting a lot of red cards and sitting in the principal's office during a school spelling bee. During that time, though, I did make some friends, of course. My best friends from school became 2 people named Austin B. and Kenzie. One thing I do still remember is a girl I liked. I told her, and Kenzie and I started going out. Well, as much as you could in 5th grade. Sadly though, it ended when she moved away for the summer before middle school, and Austin B moved away in the middle of the year. I had a lot of friends move away as a kid, now that I think about it. Middle school, I'll just come out and say it sucked, and I'm pretty sure that was a mutual feeling. Most of the time just felt like it blurred together. I met a lot of friends that carried over, such as the Dan you might know, David, Kyle, the triplets, and I became much better friends with the first Austin, the neighbor one. Out of school though, it's actually pretty much where things begin to get interesting. I was introduced to the realm on the night of a Valentine's Day dance. I was lured in by a dodgeball tournament at a local church building across the street from the main church, and I had no idea how much of an impact that night would have. I was hooked on the games that they played every Friday and the environment that it provided. It was fun, I was coming back, and eventually I began bringing my camera to the infusions, as they called it. Back at home, it was around this time my parents bought me and my sister our first video camera, which we started using to record the game we were both playing at the time, Club Penguin. It was the first semester of 8th grade that I met some of my web friends, who grew to be some of my best friends. I met Kaylee, North Carolina, Cecily, New York, and Ethan, Arizona, via a live show by Ryan Higa, the YouTuber. During that time, we became operators of his live show to moderate the chat and interact with Ryan on a more regular basis than your average Joe. It was pretty cool being a part of something that a top YouTuber did. I began taking that video camera to the realm more and more, and from there I started getting involved in video overall. But at that point, I was still participating in events at the church, but they started to transition to things more serious than flag football. The Crucible is a program at the church for 8th grade boys, and the point was to become closer in faith and, in the church's eyes, become a man. It was kind of like a weekly Bible assignment for weeks, and then there was a final weekend where you brought a bunch of tiring physical tasks into the mix. We went out to a state park and ran. A lot. But by the end of the weekend, I had grown a lot closer to the boys, men of my grade. All I can really describe is the bruises on my upper leg and the physical exhaustion from the weekend. It was at this point that middle school was ending and high school was beginning. I was a new kid again, in a larger school. I didn't really get involved in any clubs freshman year. I just kind of focused on my hobby of filming the weekly high school services at the Realm, and just random things around school. Sophomore year though, things began to get a lot better. I started the year with photojournalism, a recommendation from Dan, which put me on track to meeting Manful, a very, very influential teacher, to say the least. On a paper for getting to know the students, I put a link to the channel I was posting my Realm videos on. He really liked that I had already been doing multimedia stuff out of class, and I spent that semester quasi on staff before I was even officially on staff for the student media room. At semester, I joined staff going into video for the start of 2011. At the end of the 2nd semester of sophomore year, the end of the year banquet came around, and I received Rookie of the Year, which was pretty cool. Out of school, I started creating daily time lapses for my bedroom window on the channel Archive My. I licensed them under a Creative Commons license, and it was one of the first YouTube projects I've started throughout the years. Also out of class, I ended up getting addicted to Korean pop, or K-pop for short, as a result of a video by Lamar Wilson, another YouTuber. It was him dancing around to a Mandarin song, which had a more popular version in Korean by Tierra. I started watching related videos and I got hooked with the genre, and now I'm planning on actually taking Korean as my college foreign language. Over the summer, I attended a summer camp at the local Lindenwood University Media Now STL. Here, I worked on my video skills and was now eligible for the much talked about nationals for publications. Sophomore year was nice, but junior year was better by far. Because of the summer camp, I was able to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota for my first school trip out of state. We went to a convention for high school journalism staffs, HSJMN. It was my first real plane ride and full of new experiences. It also helped that our advisor, Manfo, was named National High School Journalism Teacher of the Year. No big deal. By this time out of school, I had moved on to creating daily video blogs inspired by CTFXC. This was my second YouTube project, and it's actually pretty cool to be able to look back at my junior year and almost relive it. That's pretty much why I started vlogging. After nationals, the year went on, and during the semester I applied to become an editor for FHN's video group and got in. Being an editor meant that you would be in charge of things, but that really didn't happen a lot. The video team was small, and when I joined as an editor, there were more editors for video than regular staff videographers, which was kind of interesting. Winter break 2011 came around, and one big thing happened that I feel like I should mention. I got addicted. To Minecraft, of course. I bought the game with Christmas money and began playing it throughout break. I don't think I need to explain why I love this game so much. Moving into the spring, an opportunity was presented to go to Seattle in April because Kelsey, the EIC of the newspaper, was being nominated as Journalist of the Year by the convention. It was an editor-only trip, and it was probably one of the best. We flew out to Seattle, Washington for the first spring nationals trip in a while. We went there, explored the city, went to the top of the Space Needle, drank out of the first Starbucks, pretty standard tourist stuff. We went to sessions and competed with works we created prior to the convention. The day of our away flight, we sat in the award ceremony and Kelsey was named High School Student Journalist of the Year. Now we have two top High School X Journalism of the Year awards in 1 year. And we received one of the top awards we got for our website, a pacemaker. Wow. And to top off junior year, I had the opportunity to be a part of the professional press for a day, as 4 students from FHN got involved in the political season starting to pick up. Ron Paul came through the area to Lindenwood University, where he held a political rally before the Missouri caucuses, and I had a press opportunity. Needless to say, I sat front and center. And it wasn't the only opportunity I got to cover government officials that year. In May, the governor of Missouri, Jay Nixon, took a visit to our school to talk about the A+ program offered at our school. Now that the year was wrapped up and vlogging slowed down, I started up another YouTube project by the name of JondGames. You might have heard of it. I created the channel in December, but hadn't had a lot of time until summer to actually do anything on it, so I waited until then to just play out my Minecraft addiction. Junior year was a year to remember, but senior year was without a doubt the best. I started schoolwork far before school even began. I was interested in working with the web and HTML, so that is the section I chose for Media Now STL 2012. I pretty much spent my days, along with a couple other staffers, working on rebuilding the pacemaker-winning FHNtoday.com to suit the growing mobile market. Little to say, I had a lot of work cut out for me. We got a rough build of the site up and pretty much just called it a week. It was left there until around the school year started, when Chandler and I started ironing out a very wrinkly site. I started senior year as a web editor, and FHNtoday.com became a baby to me. Things were going great already. I joined speech and debate team and was ready to do me some puff and radio. This would be the year that I would actually get involved in things. Then, in September, something I really did not expect to happen, and sure enough, it happened. I fell. Hard. I'd known this girl for a while, Murphy, who had grabbed my heart like nobody had before. I really didn't know what else to do but ask her to homecoming. When talking with Chandler about it, we both agreed "will you go to homecoming" seemed a little too strong, so I just asked if she wanted to hang out at homecoming. I asked her at the end of a work night and she said sure, and now we had some plans with a group of people that she was already going to go with, but they didn't happen, at least for me. I went to homecoming myself and she was there shooting photos. It was kind of depressing for me. We didn't talk much that night, but luckily I was still able to dance to Gangnam Style. Things kind of died down a little until I really started getting involved in football season. I'll just let you know right now, I'm not much of a sports fan, but I got really invested in covering the game season. The whole season we went defeated, but boy did I cover our demise. Live tweets covering the scores, video recaps, and my first sports photo gallery all made the football season amazing to watch. Nationals for this year started picking up traction, and for the fall we went to San Antonio in Texas. This wasn't really one of my favorite trips, mainly because I spent most of my time trying to feel like I was included. In the trips before, I felt like I was a part of a faction inside of the staff that went. This time, I felt like I didn't belong to a single group of friends that I can point to, just jumping back and forth and kind of getting blocked out. I did even get jealous at one of the staff members for spending a lot of time on the trip with Murphy. It really wasn't my favorite trip. During December, I was contacted by a person who found my videos, Mr. Gibbs Power On. He asked if I wanted to do a video with him. The reason I mention this specific occurrence is because I am now good friends with not only Ledger, but Mike, Zane, Spencer, and Chris because of him. Mike and Zane are still doing videos with me, and it was a pretty cool result of making a couple of videos with a cool guy. January rolled around, the start of my final semester of high school, and I was asked to go on another trip. Not somewhere across the country, and not to learn. I was invited to teach multimedia and web at a workshop in Joplin, Missouri by my advisor. This is something that was limited to 4 people, and everybody involved said yes. In the middle of January, we hopped in Manful's car and went down to Joplin. The city got hit with a huge tornado, and the main high school of the city got wiped away. It was actually pretty scary looking over a campus-sized dirt plot where the school once stood. I can really only imagine what it was like back in 2011. We taught a little workshop in the current upper schools, grade 11 and 12, which relocated in what looked like a superstore complex. It was actually a really humbling experience to go out there to a rebuilding city and teach students things about WordPress, SmugMug, GoPros, all of these things that I did personally talk about. It was an amazing and humbling experience, which is pretty much what I just told my principal whenever she sat down to talk with everybody who went there. By January, I was debating whether or not I wanted to ask Murphy to snow coming, a more informal winter dance. To actually be smart about it, I talked with one of her best friends about the idea, and she told me that Murphy had been dating a guy since around Thanksgiving. At that point, I pretty much just went home and lied in bed for the rest of the night. No homework, not anything. I really didn't know what I was feeling. Depression? Closure? I honestly didn't know. The dance passed and debate tournament started to pick up. At the beginning of February, most members of the speech and debate tournament went to Jefferson City, Missouri for a weekend tournament. Throwing away any inside jokes, the weekend was very successful for 2 of our members in Lincoln Douglas debate and humorous interp speech. Alright, maybe just tell the joke about my debate partner wearing a banana costume and rolling down a muddy hill before our debate. By April, my YouTube channel started picking up a bit and I actually joined my first network. TGN got in contact with me and I joined them for a little while, eventually just leaving to go to my current network, Omnia Media. A YouTube project is actually taking off. That came to me as a surprise. For April and beyond, this is where being a senior really starts taking off. April 20th, you stoners might know that day, was my senior prom. I got picked up by my friend Chris and we went to meet up with some friends. After taking some photos at the Mississippi River, we hopped in our cars and went off to prom. That night, I spent my time between a few groups of people, which were my friends I was with earlier, Dan, his girlfriend in Austin, and 2 photographers that were shooting the event. Still had publications on my mind. I shot some video myself, but for the most part, I did try to enjoy myself and not think about Murphy, who was also there with her boyfriend. It was a great night, and the next week was going to be better. On the following Wednesday, we hopped on a plane and headed to San Francisco, California. This was my final nationals trip, and I still had a bad taste in my mind from San Antonio, but on the flight to Denver, I did try to get some sleep, and when I laid down on my tray, so did another female staffer from newspaper who was sitting right next to me. It sounds kind of creepy in retrospect, but when our arms were touching due to the small space, I got a chance to just think. Taking an opportunity of unintended human contact and just feel. It was at this point that I actually started getting over Murphy, and it honestly felt great. Depression slipping away and San Francisco was ahead. It was definitely a factor for making this my favorite trip of all time. It also helped that I was going to be an intern for the convention's Twitter handle because I claimed the account in the first place and then gave it up to NSPA. I even got a little badge that says intern, which felt sweet. But in addition, we were also up for a pacemaker, not only for the website, but for the yearbook as well, and we won both. Needless to say, it was a great day for Yearbook, winning their first pacemaker ever, and the website I've been an editor of winning one as well. Chandler and I were very happy, and selfies in front of the crowd were had. I don't even think I need to mention the sites, like Alcatraz and the Golden Gate Bridge. They were pretty awesome, but everything on the trip was awesome. It was just a great way to end off high school. May was fairly dull, with senioritis in full effect, exemptions all around, and award banquets for speech and debate and publications. This time around for publications, I took home 2 things that I am incredibly proud of. I got a Journalism Service Award medal, as did everyone who went on the trip to Joplin. I was also awarded Journalist of the Year for our digital media class. The plaque I got perfectly embodies why. It's a paused YouTube video of my football recap when I made it when I went out to Washington, about an hour away, to make, with the shot being of a GoPro, which I helped bring into the room, mounted on the field goal. The in-video programming FHN Media logo completes the shot. I didn't realize I was this good. Graduation was only a matter of time. We were going to be walking in the family arena, but the weather would not have that. The night before graduation, a tornado swept through the area and caused damage to the arena. Fuck, everybody thought. After a bit of reworking on the district side, we had our graduation at the Lindenwood University football stadium, which could be seen from the main room of Media Now. Too much coincidence? Well, I'll just leave that up to you. Now, I'm in college at the University of Missouri going into broadcast journalism. After only being there for 2 weeks, a YouTube project named ZooSource was created, and with talks with a head physics and astronomy professor, is planned to start in November with the launch around Comet Ison. But I'm just going to keep the details hush-hush for now, but rest assured, I have stuff to do. Classes, socializing, JondGames, ZooSource, sleep. It's a lot to do on a daily basis, but it's a fantastic way to work, doing what I love and going for a degree I enjoy and already have experience in. Thank you guys for watching my Draw My Life video, and thank you guys for sticking with me this long. It's an amazing, amazing thing I got going here. Thank you guys, and without that, it wouldn't have been possible. Maybe I'll do another one of these things in a couple more years, since a lot does seem to happen. Anyways guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.